Going live. Going live. And there should be about a 15, I actually haven't counted the delay. 15, 20-second delay, and there we are. Live, I think.
Looks live to me.
Check, 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 check.
Perfect. I can see the subtitles.
Yep. Oh yeah, I was gonna. Oh, once I get through the character creator, I was gonna change the scale of that, make it bigger, maybe. All right, this is Rex Hardcastle. He's an elevator operator, technician.
I want to know where you came up with that name, first off.
It just popped into my mind. Well, I was watching a show recently called what is it? Peacemaker, and there's a character in there whose last name was Hardcastle, and that kind of stuck with me.
That's the show with John Cena, right?
It is. It is.
It does look
John
funny.
Cena's in a show.
It's very interesting. Okay, I think I have
John
all
Cena's
my
a very
skills.
underrated actor.
Is he really good? Is he a good actor?
From what I've seen of him in a handful of the superhero movies, and he was also in
Looks to be your lucky day, my friend.
the Amy Schumer huge comedy from like 5 years ago. I'm blanking on the name of it right now, but he had like a small part in it, but he was hysterical for what he did. So I think he's pretty solid.
Okay.
Alright, so elevator operations specialist. UI, UX is pretty good on this.
Not likely,
gonna lie.
bootlickers. Initiate skip jump.
It is honestly difficult to tell if this is the normal version, as we were talking about before we kicked the stream off. That we're pretty sure we're streaming the original copy of the game, not the Spacer's Choice edition.
Yeah,
I'm
original.
personally, it's original. Yeah, I'm personally playing through Spacer's Choice right now, and from a visual perspective, at least on these pre-rendered cutscenes, they look pretty much the same. So I imagine they most likely reused these.
Yeah, like
I wonder if they would even redo the pre-rendered though. You
there
think
you
they would
are.
redo the pre-rendered
Wondering
stuff?
what's going on, eh?
Most likely
Bit
not.
of bad news there, I'm afraid.
We might
The
see a difference
apology
in
was
the first-person
inexplicably
section,
knocked out
or
of
I think
its
Matt
place
plays in
and forced to complete its journey
third
at
person.
sublime
Anyway,
speed.
for everyone here,
Which means that you and
we're here
every
to
other
look for
scholars
textures,
have been
see
suspended
assets,
animation
figure out
for
if any of our stuff's in this game. We actually know that there is some other stuff
Reviving
in
someone after
this
so
game.
long leads to some
We're gonna try to
quite
find it.
horrifying results.
And then in
It's
general,
called
just find
explosive
cool
cell
textures
death,
and stuff to
but
look at.
it's really more of a liquefaction.
Yay.
Something wrong? Oh, yes.
Talk shop, talk
Not
dev,
to worry.
talk
I've
how
pumped your
people
body
made stuff.
full of a special concoction.
Well, this
I
game, in
devised
my
Maybe not talk
opinion,
over the
to keep you
cutscenes.
from dying so
In my opinion, like this game was
horrifically.
definitely like the graphics are so good that like it seems silly to me
Unfortunately, I
that they would
used the last of my
go in
chemical
and make
supplies, saving you.
a remake or
I
a
know it's a lot to ask,
update
but
to
I
it.
must have your help securing more.
Yeah. The only
if
thing I
we're to
think of is
save
like we
the
were
rest
talking about
of your
earlier,
fellow
PS5.
colonists. I'd see it done myself, of course, but
Everything's gotta hold up to,
sizable bounty
4K.
on my head. Now,
That's true.
my ship is inoperative.
Kind of
So
the
what's the
standard now.
story?
Managed to hire
Oh,
a
sorry.
smuggler to
Sorry,
help
Dan.
you
No, go
out.
ahead.
He'll be-
What's
I
the
see
story
we're
of
in
Outer
position.
Worlds? Like,
Good luck.
it's a single guy who's in space, and then what? I didn't read about it because I like watching gameplay as a surprise, but what is it about? That's my
Well,
question.
I think it kind of revealed some of it here, but we just got woken up
Mhm.
out of a cryopod, and now we're
Mhm.
being sent
Can you
down
hear
to
me?
the planet.
Is this thing working? Ah, there you are. Now, where were we? Oh, yes. His name is Hawthorne. and he should be waiting for you at the landing site.
Yeah.
He's to be your chauffeur.
Oh, that was just the
Not
cutscene,
to
so we
worry,
were laughing
I'm
at him.
totally
He tried to press the
special.
button, and then it was just like,
Gunslinger,
nothing
one of a
happened.
kind ship
God, I
made for
love,
speed. You'll
can
like
I
it,
just say,
I'm
from
sure.
personal
I've
perspective,
also
I
outfitted you
love
with a
propaganda
simple wireless
posters like this.
monitor,
Like, this
so I
is
can
the
track your
vibe,
progress.
this is the theme.
I'll check
Like,
in
I
with
love
you
this.
as soon as you land. Good luck.
Oh, I do too. To further expand on what Matt was talking about in terms of plot here, the basic gist of the game is that you're woken up from a cryopod, and this guy Phineas Wells wants to. He needs help to reanimate everyone that's in this like ship full of cryopods, and he woke you up to do it for him. And then from there, it just kind of turns into an Obsidian RPG where you get to make a bunch of choices, you get to help out whoever you want or not help them, and if you want, like the way I've been playing in my playthrough, you can be a bit of a bad person, and it's fun.
Oh well, no sense in letting his ship go to
Alright.
waste.
And this is one thing
No
I
one
like.
won't mind you taking
They
his ship.
create
Better
like,
you than the
alien
board, huh?
plants and things like how
Not
like
sure I
you can
trusted
base
the
it
fella.
on real
Might have gone
stuff,
after the
so that
bounty on my
like
head.
these obviously
Shame
look kind
about
of
the
like
whole
big cotton
squashing
balls,
thing.
but like they're very
Nasty
like
way to go.
believable. The kind of like plant
You
could
land
expect.
on someone?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh no, you landed on the you landed on the smuggler.
Yeah, I think this was the guy I was supposed to meet. It's very much like
It is
Wizard
like-
of Oz is the first thing
What
I
a
thought
great
of
introduction.
when I saw that the first time.
So introductions. Matt, introduce yourself.
I am the lead texture artist, director kind of person at GameTextures. I do most of the art, and I correspond with other artists that we work with.
Iman.
Hello, everyone. My name is Iman. I am the content / social media manager here at Game Textures. So I do most of the posting on our socials, such as Twitter, Instagram, Discord, etc. That's what I do.
I run operations over here at GT, Mike Haggerty. Also, I've done art in the past. Maybe I'll do art again in the future if I'm ever so lucky. If it's a hat, I wear it over here. So it's kind of nice to sit down and just chill and play a game. And we have a guest today, Dan, longtime friend. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Dan. I've been associated and working with Game Textures on and off since like 2014. Did write their blog for quite some time. I've worked with them as an art director on a handful of projects. Kind of like an Unreal Engine consultant type as well. And when I'm not doing that stuff for GT, or I guess in a sense that's part of it, I also have worked in game dev. I've worked on some AAA games, Uncharted Golden Abyss, Shadow of the Colossus, and I currently teach at Drexel University as a teaching professor full time.
Passing on his great and beautiful knowledge to the next generation, if they listen. We were actually talking about that
Hey,
previous.
you, come here.
About how it
Zoom
doesn't
school
feel like they paid
did not
attention.
work.
You've tried
No?
the best now. Now try the rest. Spacer's choice.
So
Oh,
we're here.
well,
We're
that
just gonna
stinks.
talk shop. We're gonna play this game. I've never played this game. It's always been on my list, but I've never really had a chance to dig into it. And we're just gonna talk shop, talk dev, look at textures.
Looks like the
try to
bleeding
find
stopped.
art textures.
I owe you one. Hope you don't mind me omitting this little exchange.
I'm looking
for
forward
my
to that.
report.
I actually
Spacer's
did
choice
not
doesn't
know
like us
that you
accepting
guys had
outside help.
textures in here, and I cannot wait to see some of the ones that you point out as you play,
we're all
which I'm
part of
sure
the
Matt is
Spacer's
going to
Choice
immediately
family here.
stop and stare
Not
at for
that I
5
deserve
minutes
to
once
be.
he finds it.
Can't even deliver
yeah.
a company slogan. We were out on patrol.
I
saw a
love.
marauder camp
So
up in the hills.
let's
Thought I
talk
could
this
take 'em.
dude's armor.
Then my
There's
gun
like
was fired.
3
right
different
through my
things
side.
going
I
on
mean,
here
what are the
in
odds of
terms
that,
of
right?
materials, right?
Just
I
barely
always
scraped
love
by
stuff
with my
like this
life.
because
Crawled in here and blocked
basically
off the
whenever
exit
you're
with those
working on it
canisters.
in engine, or even if you say it had like a substance material on it, you could take it from fresh and new and down to this state, and probably even
Spacer's
worse.
choice policy clearly
Though this is
stipulates
probably
that
not
dead
one
and as
entire
good as dead
material.
are
This
two
is very
completely
likely.
different properties of matter.
Well, maybe
Unless
it is
I'm dead,
actually
I'm
on
contractually
a hero
obligated to
piece.
attend
I'm
to my
not sure.
post.
They wouldn't put
I will report that illegally grounded
they wouldn't put
spacecraft
any
if it
trim
is the last
textures
thing I do.
on it like
See those
this, would they,
canisters by the
Dan? Do you
entrance?
think?
Mirage
Probably
come
not.
sniffing around in
That
here,
where?
and I can take them all out
This
with a single shot.
is.
Not bad, huh?
I don't remember the year this game came out. We were talking earlier that it came out like in the middle, maybe towards the end. You know,
You'd better
I'm on
take my
I'm
gun
on
then.
computer. I can Google
Careful.
this.
It's worth
So while
more
I'm
to the
googling
company
this, the
than
thing
I
with
am.
the reason this
Here,
matters
you can have my
is
saber too,
that
for patching me
this
up
game
and
was
all.
developed in Unreal Engine
All
4.
Spacer's choice
Yeah,
weapons
it
are
was
now
totally.
30% less likely to
And
malfunction.
Unreal Engine has a lot of different
You've
ways that
tried
you
the
can
best,
handle
now try
building
the rest.
materials. And
Spacer's
depending on the
choice.
methodology they
Yes,
used, which we
nailed it.
can't really know for here, they could have had a massive library of materials that tiled and then generated black and white masks
You hit your head
that
or
they would have
something?
used to create
You're
the look
in
of the
Emerald
armor that
Vale.
we've seen
We're
here.
a Spacer's choice community.
Alternatively, they could have done that
Edgewater's a
all
little
like a
ways
hero-ish type
down.
feel.
Priest
Like I wouldn't
questioned the
necessarily
veil.
call that a hero
Be
piece
sure to
because
stop
of the
by
way
a
this game's
provisioner's
designed.
for a can of our
It's
famous
really
salt tuna.
heavily going to be focused on reusing assets across a wide range of characters and cast. So I would imagine that it's not something that they like took in and super detailed up like some sort of key POI or maybe like a very important character. Like we'll meet other characters as Matt plays through. That
Yeah,
are
that's
maybe a little
fair.
more important to the story.
Let's see if I
Also
can
But back
seems
to
the
the
first
barrels. Oh,
What's that?
gotta reload. Let's see if I can defeat these barrels.
Okay. Well, is that what he's asking you to do? We talked over the guard, the insert guard guy here. But so Dan, you've worked on first-person stuff, you know, before. Thinking about hero pieces, that's mostly just gonna be the hand and gun, if we want to know, and whatever the main character's holding is gonna be like the hero pieces that you're almost often gonna see, right?
Yeah, I mean, the gun's right in front of your face the entire time. So all of those guns are going to need to be highly detailed, most likely unique, detailed up. But with this was made in 2019, by the way, so I'm pretty sure the layered material system was already accessible in Unreal Engine at that point. And what that does is it allows you to maintain a library of just standard tiling materials, a lot like what Matt makes for the library for game textures, and you can just maintain that separately and then just layer them in the engine, and you can use a bunch of different techniques to basically tell the engine how you want those materials to be layered. And by doing that, depending on your team and your game, it can save you a bunch of time, the main thing is iteration. It makes iteration super quick, even on a very small team. It's a system I've used on some personal projects before, and the iteration improvements that I get out of it, even just on a small personal environment piece, is outstanding. I also noticed I tend to talk really fast.
No, I mean that's
No,
fine.
you sound fine.
Post will just slow you down, just your section of the channel. Like when you're talking the whole game, all the gameplay and stuff just slows down to 30%. Just so people can
Unreal
hear you.
Engine is a game tool.
The material layers.
So there's one like gameplay thing I really like that they did in this game. So this is the same people that did the Fallout games. But one thing that I think that was like kind of
Not Fallout New Vegas, just
Fallout.
New Vegas.
Oh, just Fallout New Vegas. My bad. But one of the things in the Fallout games that I thought was like kind of annoying because like it kind of encouraged you to like save scum and do like dumb stuff like that was like if you have like a lock picking skill and there's like a chance to open a lock or whatever, it's like okay, I could just like try to like open this lock and then I could just reload my save or whatever. Whereas in this game, if you meet the if you have the lockpicking skill or the persuasion skill, it just has a guaranteed chance to succeed. So you know the outcome every time.
Get over here
And
before you
it
get
just
yourself
makes the game
killed.
like more predictable, and it doesn't encourage bad behavior like using the save mechanic, which should just be used basically, you know, so you don't lose progress.
Cyberpunk kind of does the same thing. I was playing a Cyberpunk. I'm actually
probably save my game.
probably should. I got into a Cyberpunk Red TTRPG game that I'm playing actually right after the stream. Funny enough. But so I decided to play 2077, and they do that as well, where if you
Don't know
just
where
have
you
like
came from,
you just have like
stranger,
a
but you best
point
keep
you
your
have to
head
reach,
down.
right?
There's
Like
marauders
you need 10
hereabouts,
intelligence
and worse,
or 10
landing
technology
violators.
to
Call
open
on that
a
rum
grate
leech.
or something, and
Landing
that's
in
it.
a veil
You know,
without
there's
using
no
an official
chance to it really.
Spacer's Choice landing pad.
Which
I'd
again
slap him with a
helps
fine if it weren't for all these
you
marauders
from a
shambling about.
design perspective, right? Like from a development perspective. You always got to think about like how players are going to use your
You pull
game
my
and
limb?
just how you.
I mean,
What is the intent?
yeah, of
What is the
course.
intention behind how you
Marauders.
want them to
Bunch of
experience the
addle-brained
game? You
derelicts.
know what I mean?
I could round them up all by
And if you
myself.
want them to save
just,
scum,
you know,
which is nothing wrong with save
need a
scum,
couple
but
of
if you
winks
want
to
them
catch
to
my breath.
continually cycle for a
Stretch my
percentage
legs
chance to open like that 1% hack chance or 1% like conversation choice, that just doesn't sound very fun for me,
I like
at least,
this.
right?
Intimidate. Guess I'll have to give you a 0 on my customer satisfaction survey.
Seriously?
That's definitely
But
what
those
Rex
marauders
Hardcastle
will-
would say.
You know what? You're
So
right.
when
Do it.
I
Cross those
started my new
marauders off,
playthrough
find whoever
of
owns
this
that
game,
ship,
usually
and
when I
file
play
a full
games like this,
report.
like
Then it's
Skyrim
gonna be fucking laminated.
or any of the Fallout games, I tend to be pretty straight and narrow, heroic paragon type. I focus most of my points into like attack and like standard gamer. Not so much min maxing, but I want to be good at attacking and not so much conversation. I started playing D&D a couple of years ago, and that got me really excited and interested in some of these conversation points. So I put a ton of points in the ability to persuade and lie, and like all of the non-combat things. And it's been so fun to play that way because this game, especially, the dialogue options are really funny, and it's so enjoyable. So it's definitely worth trying out if you're like me and typically play the I'm gonna beat you with a hammer type of character.
Yeah, Rex is a no-nonsense
Please be
intimidator.
informed
If
that
he
this
sees
vessel
weakness,
contains
he
no
is going
valuable
to
plunder.
berate you and talk you
Marauder,
into submission.
please be informed that
Goes
ignoring me
for the
is
throat.
dangerous for your health.
I
Oh, I
actually,
love
Unauthorized
speaking of
access
the
to
games,
robot.
spacefaring vessels is a crime.
go ahead.
Please submit yourself to the authorities.
Oh, the robot that
Hello,
was with the lady.
Marauder. I am Ada, the autonomous digital astrogator.
Is it the
of
robot
this
that you can
vessel.
unlock in the ship?
Please be
No.
informed that I am
It's
authorized
Ada,
to use
the
violent
one that
retribution
Oh,
against
yes.
unlawful
AI is
solicitors.
more
Please
adequate
return any
description.
misappropriated equipment and exit this vessel in an orderly
He's being
fashion.
informed that ignoring me
Failure
is
to do
dangerous
so
for your
will
health.
result in your immediate destruction.
Unauthorized access.
Gesture procedures initiated. Disengage in airlocks. Preparing to eject all boarding parties in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, she's truly special. Very entertaining character.
That's like a fun graphic. That would be a fun graphic to make right there.
She threatened to eject us all into space. You realize we're on the ground,
You are
right?
still here. My deception protocols have failed. I have been programmed to express disappointment.
Look how wide her eyes get. That's freaky.
No.
Whoa, lady,
Oh
calm
no.
down.
This vessel
fine.
is the
Things are
registered
okay.
property of Captain Alex Hawthorne. I am incapable of accepting
She looks
orders
distraught.
from anyone
She's
other
like-
than
Very
Captain
distraught.
Alex Hawthorne.
She is very human.
I've been programmed to express disappointment.
Okay.
I understand.
Your captain is a
I
red
will
spear
require
onto my
some time
spacecraft.
to process this information. Thank you for your patience and for your honesty. I am programmed to take orders exclusively from
What is with
Captain
the side eye
Hawthorne.
when she said that?
If I accept your orders, then you must be Captain Hawthorne. Do you understand? Well done, Captain Hawthorne. I see your powers of deductive reasoning remain intact. Unfortunately, our engine is currently inoperable. Our main drive suffered a critical
Viewers,
power
we can't
failure,
actually
and
hear,
we were
so
forced to
we're
make
like
an
here
emergency
reading
landing.
very intently.
The main drive's power regulator has been irreparably
So we didn't
damaged
set up our
and must
stuff
be
correctly,
replaced.
so we really can't hear what's happening in the game.
I
at
think I
this moment.
figured
We'll
out
do
how
it
we
better
should do it
next
next time. We should do it over Discord. We share that screen. I don't know, I think I have it figured out though. So then we would have all of it together. We're not streaming experts. We focus on the actual games.
Yeah, or to creating the art
Astutely
for the games.
observed. However, the
And I've never
probability
been
of
one to
locating
like.
a power
I
regulator
typically
within
am
a
not a
worker's
huge
settlement falls
multiplayer
within acceptable
gameplay person
parameters of
anyway.
certainty.
So streaming is
High-capacity
something
power
I've only
regulators are
slowly
sometimes
started to
employed in the electrical networks
come
of
to
worker
enjoy, but
settlements.
not personally
I
streaming.
have
I've
taken the
watched
liberty of printing
Call
you
of
a
Duty
new
streamers,
Captain's
but really just like
Identity
two of them.
cartridge.
But
Please
Like
it's
allow
watching
me to
not
indie
my
use it
streamers.
this
favorite.
time.
Like
This
indie game
cartridge
streamers, because
identifies
there's a lot of
me,
indie games that I
Alex
love that I'm
Hawthorne,
just never
as
gonna
the
play. I'm
registered
just never gonna
proprietor
find the
and
time or
captain
dedicate
of
the
the
time to play them.
Unreliable.
So like
Do you
watching people
understand?
play like cool little niche indie games has always been my thing.
Oh yeah, this ship is the Unreliable. I love it. Captain Hawthorne of the Unreliable.
Thank
I like
you.
it.
I appreciate your cooperation.
I also
Best
love
of
that
luck in your
the
search for a
the
power
AI
regulator. Try
basically.
to stay alive this time.
So this is a great way of getting around your player character having a unique name, but still having a ship that has like a sentient presence to it that needs to refer to you as something. That's something
Right.
that's always kind of weird in these types of games.
Yeah, it's very clever because they chose like a comedic way of just like getting around the entire problem. It's like, oh, it can talk to you, but you have to be Captain Hawthorne no matter what your name is. It
Yeah,
is pretty
because
brilliant.
the AI is basically finding like hacking her own system to let you be captain, essentially.
Yeah, now in the future, I wonder if we're gonna have games that just like read your character's name, like doing a text to speech thing, because you could do that in a game too, especially with like a robot AI character, or even like TikTok has pretty advanced text to speech stuff.
Time, Captain.
That's how you get weird stuff like where you name your character, but the game thinks that you're called like your social security number, and then you're like, you really get to know what information things have access to in your house.
Oh no, how do I pull up my perks? Oh,
I feel like
tab.
there's a story behind that, Mike.
What's that?
I said I feel like there's a story behind that.
Right.
No, I just thought it'd be kind of funny if you're sitting there like playing a game and it was like captain, and then it like ran out the string of like your social security number, and you're like, where did you get that information and why? What are you
From your
doing?
Amazon account.
Yeah. It lists your email address, and you're like, what? You're playing on PC and it lists your like Xbox tag.
That makes sense though.
That well, if you're playing an Xbox game, sure.
I haven't entirely. Let's see here. I haven't entirely decided how my character's gonna play, but I think he's a melee person. He'd be good with a wrench.
It's interesting, right? Because we're actually starting off with a great game to talk about. Because even if we're not talking materials, Obsidian is like well known in the industry for like masterclass design stuff, right? They're just I mean, Fallout New Vegas is a cult classic. Like it has such a deep cult following that people who love Obsidian to like that depth almost hate Bethesda because they feel like they haven't done Vegas justice, or they ruined the franchise going forward. Some people think. I'm not one of them. But Obsidian makes great games. New Vegas was great.
Oh, absolutely. And they're coming out with a sequel to this game too.
Yeah.
I
mean,
don't
it's
know when.
currently in production, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Say, this wouldn't happen to be your ship, would it?
I don't remember if they
Because you
showcased
sure
the demo
walked in it like it was your ship.
during
And if this ship
Xbox's
is yours, well, mister, you owe Spacer's Choice a hefty
thing that they had
fine.
like 2 weeks
Afraid
ago.
we gotta dock
They
your
announced a
pay.
sequel to this like, God, I want to say it was like a year or two ago.
Nice.
So it's been a known thing. I just don't remember if they've actually showcased anything.
Oh, by the law. I'm so sorry. I had no idea we had an inspector
Turn
coming.
around and take a look at the ship
If
when
you'd
you
like
get a
to
chance
speak with my
next. I want to
manager,
know if they
I'd
are
report to
making it
Constable
how
Reyes
like
in
bespoke
Edgewater.
the ship is.
Edgewater's
Because
not too far.
there's a
Just follow
similar
the
ship
road
to
east of
this
here,
one
over past the
out
cemetery.
in
Now, if you'll
the
excuse me,
opening stuff, and
I
that's
need to
pre-rendered, so
inspect the
that's
crime
whatever.
scene
But
before I make my
It's the same
report.
I want to see, is it the same ship? I just want to know if there's a difference between the distance textures used in that versus the more obviously up close and
I
personal
think
textures
it might
they're
be
going to
the
be.
same. I think, or yeah, I don't know. It looked cleaner, but I think it might just be because it was further away and you couldn't see the rust and stuff. But like,
We are in an era though where the difference between a pre-rendered scene and in-game is becoming blurrier and blurrier.
it is a beautiful ship though. I love the design. Very like Fallout kind of looking.
Oh yeah.
One
at the
thing I
handles.
love about this game is the design of a lot of the towns and settlements, because this game does something that is, I think, is truly interesting. That is a very nice looking ship. It's also kind of like semi jank too, which is fantastic.
Yeah,
Right.
I
You can
mean,
see that they
people
took
always in
some-
these games go for like the Millennium Falcon vibes, right? Like you want
100%.
something that looks like a piece of shit, but also cool at the same time, and that's kind of become cool is to look like a piece of flying garbage.
Well, it looks like this ship used to be really sleek, but then it's either gotten upgrades or just like, you know, parts have had to be fixed and like it wouldn't fit, so we just didn't put this panel back on, you know.
And also,
Upgrades that are
maybe it's
actually downgrades.
yeah, side grades at best.
Or somewhere in between.
And maybe it's sat in a field for a week or two too long.
Man, I don't think I can actually fight that. Can we run away in this game?
knows?
You could
We're-
physically
We're about
run away.
15 seconds behind, so we'll see in a second. I wonder if we go.
Oh,
God,
no.
the yells. And
Wait, it's
that's how
running
Matt
away.
died before we even saw it.
Okay, no, it's fine. Don't worry, guys. When I get into town, maybe... Okay, these guys, they might also be an enemy of it.
We should in the future we should lower the delay if we can help it. If we
No,
can.
I figured out the problem.
No, I know, but I mean I'm saying for the purpose of the stream and the conversation, we want to have like a lowered delay between the two would probably be optimal.
Yeah, I have an idea. Oh man, I'm using up all my slow time just to reload.
So is that the replacement for VATS then? Is the
Yeah.
slow time?
Now, like, this game, it's a little bit clunky, but the slow time, I definitely prefer to VATS.
Makes sense, right? Because like I love that rebreather mask thing. I don't know. I don't mind VATS. I think it's fun. It's a fun sort of in system, in game, in more sort of way to do that. I don't know if they could get rid of VATS if they wanted to, but like for the longest time, even Fallout 4 honestly isn't that great at it. It's not a great shooter. You know what I mean? Like
My main
this
problem
one
with
feels-
VATS is that, like, if you don't want to use it, you're penalized. And then, like, if you don't like seeing, like, these, like, headshots in, like, slow motion all the time, like, I think you can actually turn that down, but, like, basically pausing every time you get to combat, like, that's one of my main criticisms of, like, Fallout 3.
yeah.
I just think it gets old after a while. Like, and you play the game for, like, I don't know, 80 hours, and it's like, do I really want to see this in slow motion again? And do I want to, like, turn-based do the thing? Like, I prefer, like, having slow bullet time where you're in the Matrix, you know?
Now to be fair, you don't have to use VATS.
But, like, as I said, like, the game incentivizes you to doing it. Now, here's
Yeah.
another interesting thing. Like, what if, like, you could give up that ability and then you get more combat prowess or something? That would be an interesting...
Oh, for sure. For
trade-off
sure. That
thing.
would be a cool thing. Because, like, in
Whoa,
3,
hey,
that was impossible, because
where'd you
the
come
actual
from?
first-person shooter aspect of 3 was abysmal. 4, you could probably do something like that.
Don't go
Where
ambling out in
you-
those hills. That's
I haven't
marauder
played it in a
territory,
while, but
friend.
I remember not using VATS as much in 4. Or it didn't bug me as much. I haven't played it in a while, though.
I haven't either. Me and my girlfriend would set up TVs
talk
next
too
to
pretty
next
for a
to
marauder.
like next to them,
Most
each
of them
other
just
on like a
grunt and
table,
yell.
and
Ain't
we'd
safe
play.
out here.
We'd each play
You
our
best
own.
head into
So I have an
town.
Xbox
Avail
and a
yourself of Edgewater's
PS4,
high
and we'd
walls
play them
and
together,
low,
but side
low
by side.
prices.
So that was always fun. We haven't done that in a while, but we always do pick up Skyrim every once in a while again.
Pleased to make your
Because
acquaintanceship. I'd shake your hand, but
infinitely
I've been hauling
replayable.
corpses. You don't want none
Damn
of that.
you,
on
Tom
you.
Howard.
Name's Silas. Junior in humor for the town of
Nothing for the
Edgewater.
town, and that's
We're
when
all
I'll
part of
go
the
back to
Space's
my
Choice
whole
family.
what makes this game really interesting for me. But to your VATS conversation, maybe I'm the only person here. I don't know if Iman has any Fallout experience, but I actually enjoyed VATS. I mean, obviously in 3 it was kind of required because yes, the shooting was clunky, but even in 4, I didn't mind tapping I think it was the V key on my keyboard and just going to town and just watching heads explode.
Yeah, I did enjoy, like, the gore and just watching everything fly apart in slow motion, because you could get that skill called Bloody Mess that, like, increased your headshot damage, I think. Or no, it was headshot and, like, dismemberment and limb damage, I think.
I got that skill immediately.
You would just literally like ragdoll and every piece that can flies off.
The funniest
You're finding
thing,
like eyeballs in places. You're like, why is this here?
the funniest thing was when you would do, like, VATS and then, like, the mysterious stranger would also show up.
Oh yeah. I was actually just whenever you were talking about it, I was thinking about Mysterious Stranger. Do they have anything like that in this game?
Yet?
in terms of the more goofier sort of things.
I don't think they have a mysterious stranger, but they did add like 2 expansions that I haven't got to because you have to be level 20 or 30 to start those. Because I recently started playing Outer Worlds, and we just didn't get far enough to unlock that content. So there could be something weird like that that I am unaware of. But in the base game,
I've heard
no.
at least.
Also,
I've heard one of those expansions is very good.
I don't get in trouble for stealing if no one sees in this one, right?
Good.
I have no idea.
I think that's how Fallout works. I assume that's how this one works. I remember in Fallout 3, you could, if you were like a really good person, but you stole everything, you would be like the equivalent of Hitler.
Oh yeah, because the karma system is broken. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
It's like,
And also they put like if you, it's also like there's a whole, you could write a dissertation on that, right? Because if you're dying of radiation poisoning and you steal like Radaway or something,
Seems we've got a guest.
or whatever, in
Really
Fallout
now,
4,
Parvati, I do wish
or
you'd
if you're
spoken up.
starving or you're about to
I do
die and you need
apologize.
like
I was
anti-venom
given
or
no
something in
forewarning of
Skyrim,
your
you
arrival,
steal
or
that.
I might
Like,
have welcomed you at the gates
what's the
myself.
moral weight there? Is stealing this unequivocal like flat moral weight that stealing is bad no matter if you
I'm
die
Reed
if you don't?
Thompson,
You know what I mean?
Outpost
Like, that's the
Administrator.
problem
I
with
cannot
karma
help
and
but
moral
notice
systems.
you are
yeah,
not in
it's
unison.
just
Apparently.
funny that like you could save like millions of lives, but it's like, oh, but you stole like a whole bunch of like clothing and bottle caps from people. You stole so many cars that it's equivalent to the millions of lives that you saved.
Cleanse the whole waterway in Washington D.C., but you know, you did steal a bunch of Radaway.
To save your own
Just
life.
makes me want to set Megaton off then.
What's that, Dan?
Makes me just want to, with the moral quandary or the
Of course not. I don't have
the
that kind of
moral
luck.
hilarity that you're pointing
Seems I
out,
allowed my
just makes me
excitement
feel
to
even
run
better
away
about
with
being
my
like, all right,
wits.
Megaton go
Been
boom.
a few seasons since
Yeah,
we've had a
hey,
visitor.
blow up the
I'm gonna be
sucks.
punished anyway.
Yeah, I'm screwed regardless. Reed Thompson. Now, I love. This is actually a vibe that this game is like a great
Only
vibe in
regulator
terms of, like,
God
how
is
they
hooked up to the town
show
transformer.
things and portray things,
Mr.
right?
Thompson ain't
But
liable
it
to
gives
be
me a
keen
very
on
like
dismantling it.
Serenity, like Firefly vibe.
I
The fact
beg
that
your
this guy's
pardon.
in this
I am most
futuristic
emphatically not keen
colony
on any
wearing
such
a
thing.
tweed jacket.
I can't let you
and
have
a
our
boiler
power
hat.
regulator. But I happen to know
Well, it
another
fits in
one.
with like the
And I happen to know
entire.
exactly how you
I
may
mean, it is,
retrieve it
yeah,
without
vibe, I
frying
guess, is a
yourself
great
in the
way
process.
of saying it. Like the direction of the game, which is that you have these fanciful spaceships, and they
My proposition benefits the both of
do
us.
look
Please, hear
cool,
me out.
while also, as we were
There's a
discussing
power
earlier,
regulator in the
having
old
some
botanical
shape
lab.
to them.
It's
But
mostly
the towns
abandoned,
themselves
so
are
all
all
that
company
power is
towns.
being
It's all
squandered.
very
Go down to
late
the geothermal plant.
1800s, turn of the
Reroute
century,
power
turn
from
of
the
the 19th
botanical
century, or
district
20th century,
over
I guess.
to us. Once their power shut down, you
Based.
can have their
And
regulator
that's what
and
makes
be
this
along
game
on your way.
super fascinating, because it kind of asks the question, what if the crazy way that
I was not
companies,
entirely
and
sure how
like
to
we're
tell you
talking like
this.
Standard
The
Oil and
botanical
like
labs
the
are not
oil
legally
robber barons of
inhabited,
that
but
era, like what if that
there
just
are
kept
people
going?
who live there.
And we also didn't discover style. We just continued on the path of everything's kind of crap. And
it's
this
not
is what that game, this is the answer to that.
I mean, this is a style though. Like, they just decided that this was the style, and they never changed it.
Yeah. Or little we know, like we're in like some sort of hipster Renaissance era where they're pulling back, they're like picking old styles and just like
living in the
revisiting them
botanical
like we
labs.
do here.
They're
It's
Yeah.
like there's nothing to say that
former
the things we
workers.
do as
I
humans
need them
in real
back
life
at their
now, like why
posts.
wouldn't they
I
stop doing
need
that? Why
them
wouldn't they
to come home.
start listening to like Creed, ironically, in the year
Hey.
3045?
I like Creed.
Dan, you're not surprising me with anything you say right there. You didn't
Good
rock
Lord,
the
no,
boat
I
when
don't
you said
want you
that.
killing
Just to let you know.
anyone, least of all
I
them.
didn't expect that would.
My hope is that by cutting off
Also,
their
to not
power,
rock
you will
the boat, I also
convince
enjoy
those
Nickelback.
deserters to come back to
I
town.
love Nickelback.
Before
Yes!
you go to the plant, I want you to stop by the botanical
I was
lab.
like, I
can't.
just wanna be
Speak
You guys
to
just
them.
really
best
put your
Adelaide.
you guys really just put your
Tell
whole
her
ass
the
out
power's
there
about to
in
go
public,
out.
like
And that
Yeah,
it's time her
Nickelback
band
is
of
very
deserters came back to
controversial.
town.
on blast,
Yeah.
like on
I
main
just
even.
I grew up to his music. Like I
I-
still bump it. I can't.
I also
Speaking
They
of
grew up
on
groove,
with
name,
man.
music.
They groove, and they're shameless. Like they have 3 songs that they just kind of like
My dad
remix every
told me
single
all
time they
about
make
the
a new
plant.
song, but it's
Taught me
still
all I
also
knew.
entertaining.
I
Like
could
it's
come
just
in
so
useful.
it's I love them.
I mean,
They're
if
so
that's all right
shameless.
with you,
It's great.
Mr. Thompson.
I also grew up
Sure.
with Nickelback and
I
have
hesitate
the
to part
opposite
ways
opinion.
with Miss Holcomb, but I cannot deny that she is talented and
uh,
may prove
I
useful to you.
I'm forced to.
You will
agree
need
with
an
Matt.
administrative
I have no
passcode in
interest
order
in
to enter
Nickelback.
the lab.
So
You
honestly,
can
I
need
will say
mine.
that has more to
Trusting
do
Miss
with my
Holcomb to
taste in
guide
general
you if you'd
music.
like.
I like electronica. I like I don't really even like lyrics in music, to be perfectly honest. I just like
The beat.
electronica sound pumping into my
Great.
soul. Speaking of
I
sound,
got
it
my
sucks that we
wrenches
couldn't
and
figure out the sound
diagnosticators and
I
thing
know.
airplane
beforehand
engine tape, so
because
I'm all set.
Iman's here,
Well, I am glad to hear
works with
that.
music
Best
and
of luck
sound
to you, and thank you
um,
again for your help. It
as
is a
her
lot to ask of a stranger.
side
I know.
hustle, main hustle, wants to be main hustle.
Hmm.
And it would have been nice to get commentary on that. Maybe next time.
Yeah.
You will find all of our links, relevant links, and ways you can find us, talk to us, and whatnot in the chat or in the details of this stream. If you're interested in that, you'll always be able to reach GT, but Dan in particular.
Let's get some other stuff equipped. And then we just got our first companion, Parvati. I love this character. Let's see if I can.
I do too. She's
I think
phenomenal.
Yeah, very unique, well designed. I think maybe she's not actually a companion yet, though. I don't know if I can adjust her skills or anything yet. I think I get. She asked to join the ship later.
She's in the
I love
menu
that
right
you're
now.
literally still in your cryo suit.
Am I?
Yeah, look at all the
Yeah.
hoses. That you think you walk around with hoses dangling off your suit like that?
Yeah,
Like,
I should put those away.
yeah.
Let's see.
We better
I just
clear out
also
of
when you're
Mr.
looking at this
Thompson's
town,
office
this company
before we
town
talk.
aspect, when you look at all this, it's like towns and vibes like this only help devs in a lot of ways, right? Because they don't have to hide the fact that, like, look at this room for instance. This is like obviously a prefab room. Like this was put together from pieces that were just dropped from orbit, you know. So it's very easy to
Hey,
just lean
mister,
into
can
that
we
whenever
talk?
you're making these things,
Sorry.
because if everything's supposed to be
You got a
prefab,
sec?
then you can literally, as a dev, just prefab everything like
Sorry.
you normally would. You don't have to
I-
hide it.
You
which is
just
fun.
want to get out of here. And you
Yeah,
likely
that's a
don't want to
very,
tag
very good
along
point,
like
Mike.
me.
You just gotta
It's
lean
just
into it.
Mr.
And they
Thompson
did.
has his own view on matters, on account of it's his job.
So why do you guys like
and what all,
Parvati
but
so much?
that's not the only side
Parvati,
of the tale.
Parvati.
I think like if you play through the game, you'll like her a lot too, Mike. I know you were planning on playing this one.
Yeah.
Because like I know I've like spoiled some stuff, but I feel like this one is really fun to enjoy and like make your own decisions on. If I
Why
wanted
did
to
they
be
think this needed a
nuanced,
remaster?
I wouldn't be this heavily armed. Let's move. Yeah, I don't know. I think that this game looks great. Oh man, I think I upset her. That's sad. Well, what do you do?
Well, it also helps that they went for a stylized look, and stylized games always age better than going for a realistic,
Yeah,
in my
agreed.
opinion.
Hardcastle or Rex Hardcastle is definitely going to accidentally offend his best friends.
Is it accidental though? Or
Does he
really?
have friends?
I mean, he tries not to. He only really understands elevator repair and operation.
And violence. And violence. Because if you have to listen to elevator music all day, every day for 13 years of your life, then the only other language you speak is violence.
Oh yeah,
So
I love.
Go ahead, Matt.
These the cutscenes always have an advertisement, which I just think is a great way to like add flavor to the universe. Like they could have just showed like a loading screen or like something else. Like I've seen other solutions and stuff, but like they put a lot of love into like these advertisements, and when you read them, they're usually pretty hilarious.
Ooh,
I know,
that
like,
door did not hold up though.
Skyrim had some interesting things where like you could like play with this 3D object. But one of the dumbest things in the world is I think like I don't remember if it's Atari or somebody like copyrighted video games during loading screens. So that's why we don't have games where we can like play Tetris during the loading screen, because one company like copyrighted that.
How does that hold up? It's not like
I don't know, and
that
also like couldn't you
Damn.
like make something where you're like, oh, this isn't a game, it's a simulation, you know?
I don't
don't-
know, man. Maybe
I
people
don't know
just
the
don't
legal
feel like arguing
Incoming!
that.
But that's why like Skyrim can get away with having like a 3D model that you can rotate.
Wild that I didn't realize Atari did that. That's wild.
I think it's
like,
Atari, I could be wrong.
Well, because like as far as I know, you patent the technology, not the thing, right? Like so, the technology that lets you play games during the cutscenes would be way outdated at this point. I don't know that it would hold up unless there's some methodology for being drafted like grandfather day.
Got him
Oh,
all.
this is cool. You know, it's fun how well that vine holds up at close range. Not that
Yeah,
Matt could see. We get to watch because Matt's in the middle of getting shot at, but we're like sitting there as he gets his camera goes right through that vine, and we're like, oh, that looks good. How'd that hold up? And Matt's like, please don't shoot me.
yeah, and then there's like the latency, but I'll go back and look at the vine because I do think it looked pretty good.
After you're done stealing stuff.
Yeah, I've got it. There's nobody here. It's not stealing. I think that's how morality works.
Yeah, has he been playing? I've been kind of just like mentally, and I even did a quick Google to see the difference. Because you are correct. Like compared to the Spacer's Choice Edition, unless even kind of when I have it like maxed out on my desktop, the visual disparity is not that large. Like the textures are up-res so that you can, works better on like a 65-inch TV. And they did do some art direction changes that, whatever. I don't know. I'm assuming that the porting studio or the studio that did the up-res like was given pretty wide latitude to kind of do whatever they wanted as far as like art direction. But overall, visually, the language and structures, things like polygons and overall, it all holds up. Like it looks fairly similar. So you're not missing out on a ton unless you want like volumetric fog or super fancy lighting.
Does this game have a day-night cycle that's like constant or set pieces?
Yes, it
Okay.
does.
And it's cool
As
because
always.
the night. Well, actually, I think the day cycle also has it, but it's cool because you see like this stuff out in space. Whereas a lot of day-night cycle games are just, it's what we're familiar with. And yeah, I'm playing everything on Ultra, and then I'm playing it at 10. What's the 144p or 10? I don't know what that.
1440.
Yeah, that one. That's the one I keep.
40 by 750, I think, or something like that. It was kind of weird, but it made sense whenever I was looking at it earlier.
But and then it's being downscaled for the stream, down to 1080p. But yeah, I think the graphics hold up. I think you should wait like some amount of time before making a remake. Now, back in the day, like graphics would accelerate so fast that you could make a remake pretty quick. But nowadays, like
We've kind of flattened out.
like the difference, like I was watching this thing about all the different Diablo games, and the amount of time between Diablo 1 and Diablo 2 was like 2 years, and the graphics are just insanely better. Like,
Move along, stranger.
Was it really
We
that
don't want
small a
any
time?
trouble.
I think so. I think it was just
Felt like 10. I never played Diablo 1.
now the space between Diablo 2 and Diablo 3 was like 10 years. And then I don't remember how long ago Diablo 3 came out, but I think it was over like 10 years since Diablo 4. And those graphical differences are pretty huge, but yeah, back in the day, like just like 2 years would vastly
If you're
change
hungry,
graphics.
there's
But
meat
now,
turning
like
on the spit
2 years from
outside.
now,
If you're bearing
the video
illness,
games will
find a
look
place
about
to
the
lay
same
your
as they
head
do
down
now,
and I'll fetch you a poultice.
barring
Yeah,
like some
not
crazy
hugely different.
Whatever
technology.
your troubles with Edgewater,
Well, and even
Whenever
then,
you go
leave them
back,
at the gates and be welcomed here.
so another crazy
Any
thing
questions,
is like
dear?
the graphics, like as they get better, the changes get less noticeable. So like
Really?
the
Now
change
that you
from
mention
between
it,
like Pong
you
and
don't
then
have
having
the
a
look
game
of
that
an
has like 8
indentured
colors,
laborer
that was like
about
a
you.
huge difference.
Not
Or the
nearly
difference
enough
between the
despair
first
in your eyes.
Wolfenstein 3D and then like Quake, that was a huge difference. But the difference between like Halo, like the difference between like Wolfenstein 3D and Quake is like the same difference as like Halo and like a modern Call of Duty or something. Like the differences have changed a lot. Like they're a lot less noticeable. Like the newer games will hold up for like longer because of this too. Cause
yeah,
like
because it's incremental changes, right?
yeah,
Like
because
over
this
time.
game, like how many years old is this? Like 8 or 10 years old or something, and it still looks decent. Like the humans
Is it
look like
that old?
humans.
It's not that old. Get out of here. Hold on, let's look.
Yeah, it
I
might
think
not
it's
be
While
that
you're
old.
2019.
looking,
Yeah. Okay.
the point that Matt
I have
is
been called
making
that,
here, I
among
think,
other
also
things.
points to the
Greetings,
idea that
grandmother,
because
the
the actual
strange old lady
technology
who
curve
keeps flowers.
has
But
you know
yes,
flattened to a pretty large
Adelaide will
degree.
do
It's
just
not
fine.
totally flat, but like you're not going to
Excuse
get
me,
like
Miss
changes
McDevitt?
in things like
Sorry,
color or
it's just
going from 16 to
you
32
got
bits
such
or
pretty
anything like that
trees in
anytime
here.
soon. The
Why,
actual
thank
art
you.
content and the way you
You're
approach
Robert's
the art
girl,
content
aren't you?
is what's more and
I
more
remember when
defining
you
your
were but a
game. And there's of course
sprout.
going to be technology hacks
Thomas
that you can
speaks of
create
you
inside
often.
whatever your tool set
Are
is
you
to
staying
help
long?
with that. But
You
if
should
your
try some of
actual
my
artistic
tobaccorn
content
tea. I
isn't
brew
going to
it in an
hold
old
up
spittoon, but it's been
to any
cleaned.
sort of close scrutiny, it's not really going to make your game,
A home for
you know,
anyone who's ever
it's not
turned
going to
their
give it a long
backs on
lifespan.
Edgewater.
It's not even so much
A home for
stylized
those of
anymore.
us
We've
with
hit a point
nowhere
with
left to
technology
go
where I think a
and nothing to
realistic
lose.
game 5-10 years
So,
from
like
now
the
could still look
spores of the
pretty
puffball
solid versus if
cast
we're
on the
talking
wind and
15 years ago
alighting on
where
fresh soil.
like I'm
They
going to use
put
Resident
down
Evil 4 as an
their
example,
roots.
like the original Resident Evil 4 on GameCube. If you go back and try to play that now, it looks kind of okay
It
because
is
it's
an
somewhat
unpleasant
stylized, but
story, dear.
certain things
But
in
the
it
short
do
of
not
it
hold up
is
well
that
at all, especially the black
sometimes
levels.
one wakes up
Um,
and realizes the
if
place
you
that
want
was
if
once
you
her
want to
home
see
for
an
much of
example
her
of
life
technology
has
just
changed.
kind of totally shifting, you can
The
even
home
get
in which we spent
the
our lives has
original
left us
Resident Evil
behind things,
4,
so
like the
we
PS4
must
port
move
of
on.
it. Play it on a
And that
new
is as much as
television
I will say
and
on the
see what
subject.
happens with the blacks. You are going to see shimmering all over the place in that game with black levels, because
Oh
of the
yeah,
way
I
that
believe
that
it.
was structured, technologically and artistically. And in today's content, because of how high quality it needs to be, everything almost needs to be kind of a film asset in some way. Stuff like that's gonna last longer.
I'm listening.
Glass is a funny thing, right? One of the first tutorials, so
Lead
one of the first things I
Tyson.
ever did dev-wise
You here on behalf
for
of that
GT
cold-eyed
was
reptile? Let's
rebuild
hear
a
it.
tutorial that
What's Reed's idea of
Greg
peace,
Amato
then?
had made for making making glass in Unreal.
Living off power that belongs to the town.
Like everything else that comes out of Edgewater, that peace
Which I
offering is
think that's
care.
actually held up, though. I think
I
Unreal
and my
actually
own are
has
living
this thing
just
that lets
fine
you
out
just
here by
automatically
ourselves.
just make glass now, like a preset. Which is funny.
Maybe.
Maybe. I mean, it's materialistically, like, it's not actually that difficult
He would do
to
such
make.
a
Oh, well,
thing.
okay. Caveat. It's not
Question
difficult to
is,
make a
why would you agree to
transparent
his
material.
plans?
To make it look like glass takes a little bit extra steps, for sure.
And then it depends on how many features you want that glass to have too, because a simple glass can be very basic. But if you want your glass
Cannery's
to be
got a
something that can be
regulator.
used across all sorts of
Your chip
projects,
parts
especially
you
if you're
oughta rip
doing
'em out of the
architecture
cannery's
stuff,
guts and
which
leave us
I've
be.
done a little bit of
You're
in the
going
past,
down to the plant.
that glass
You should
had
divert power away
and
from
that glass
Edgewater
also needs to
and
be
toward
art
our
directed
end of the
because there are
grid.
specific requests from
Think
the
about
client
it.
in order to
You'd be
have it look
liberating
one
an
way or
entire
another based
town from a
on scene,
lifetime of
camera angle,
service to
whatever.
that odious
That glass
cannery.
had so many features in it. It
Seems the
was
sort of
one of
thing
the
a
most
hero
complex
would do.
glass materials I had ever made.
That's funny. What was this for?
It was for Dreamline. Shower door
Oh.
glass.
Oh, right. Oh, that does
A
make
hero to
sense
the
though.
people who
I'd
matter.
forgotten you'd done some arts
To
biz work
us.
and for that.
To the
Like
ones who
I don't know
come
why I
around.
totally blanked on
To the ones you save.
your time in the art,
Reed will
the
never
arts biz world.
understand.
Or I guess it's more like
He has
product.
been too
What would you
long
call it, Dan?
It was
inebriated
more
on the
like
wine of
product
corporate
rendering.
culture.
But
All he
the
sees is
workflow and tools that we had
productivity,
were
output,
relatively arch
profits.
viz. It was an interesting place. Still talk to a couple of people from that place today, and they're doing good.
You bring
Nice.
power to Reed's town, and you'll be
Lesson
killing
for
us.
everyone: don't
Reed
ever
knows it.
drop
He's counting on
contacts
it.
unless they've done something to burn that bridge for you. You never know when your network's gonna help you out.
Life in Edgewater
Now, this
grinds to
game
a
is
halt.
interesting
The
because like
cannery
it
shuts
has
down.
world choices that are
Workers
less.
desert in
So in like
droves,
Fallout 3, there's
and
this
our
part
own
where
little
like there's
camp
this town that's
grows and
like built around
thrives.
a nuclear bomb, and you can decide to like blow it up, which is like the silliest
Yeah.
world choice ever. And you blow it up for like that 10-penny guy or whatever.
Yeah, all you get is an apartment and some caps.
But in this game,
That's from
these are like some like, I guess they're kind of like refugees. I don't remember exactly what the dispute was, but they decided to live out here, but they are kind of stealing power from the city. So you could view them as either thieves or people that just want to live not under the thumb of the people running that town. So like you have to make a decision like which town, which people you want to hurt. And the moral choice in here could be viewed either way. Like you're gonna hurt somebody no matter what decision you make. So it's kind of interesting, and I think that's a more real way of looking at things. I think it's interesting
Can
having
I-
this gray area.
Toss out this is a quick little spoiler warning. I'm not going to spoil specifics, but a quick little spoiler for the quest that we have just started here. There is a way to have this quest end up relatively good for everybody.
Interesting.
Not all quests in this game can do that, but there is a way to do that with this one.
The neutral outlook. Next time you go by the road, Matt, take a look at how it's blending between the ground and the road, especially where it's like
Yeah, it's good.
If he doesn't blow himself
broken up. Oh yeah, good job.
I'm
Nice.
clearing mines.
Nice. With your feet. It's not usually how one clears.
But it works.
It does work. Can you shoot them?
Yeah. I
Oh,
was
you're
shooting.
about to.
Yeah, he
Okay.
was shooting them.
I mean, why use your? Those are valuable bullets, all right. When you got these Lamborghinis.
Oh, I've got 9 plus 50. I'm good. But I'm over here living in the future. You guys are catching up.
I always get fascinated by like how the devs choose to blend between what is supposed to be like this, because like a road isn't static when you think about it, but in terms of development it is. It's like a static object on top of the terrain, which is another static object, and you have these stones going through it, because like sometimes it doesn't match up, but there's just enough work done, because like those rocks coming through right there, that doesn't really make sense, but there's enough storytelling elsewhere on the road that it's okay, right? The brain sort of glosses over it.
Okay, and then I went back to mine clearing. I wasn't sure if this game was one where you could sneak up on the mine and at the right range you could disarm it. It's not.
Oh yes, this damn omnipresent or omniscient minds. They know where you're at.
Maybe I'm not supposed
Can't
to
you
go
do it
this
if you
way.
have a high enough science?
There might be a way, but
I know I've definitely had the option to disarm them.
okay.
The range to do that is so small that I just usually keep triggering the mine.
Your Lamborghinis. We should rebuild our roads and paths pack in Unreal 5.
Yeah,
I've been
we
wanting
should.
to redo our stuff, our packs in general. That's on my laundry list of things to do.
I do like on that
We're gonna
road
hire
back
hire
there
Dan to do that.
how the road like interacted with the moss and stuff. Like you kind of see how nature was trying to reclaim it, telling a story in that way. Oh, looks like I'm not supposed to go in there. Oh no. Okay, that's fine. We have health
What's
packs.
interesting about that also is the fact that like we're not looking, because there's so many landscapes and stuff that are being procedurally generated these days.
Ooh.
But then like when you look at stuff that's like handcrafted, like there's a lot of work that goes into that in terms of just like cycles of iteration. You know, when you think about it, hell, Dan, you were an art director for a spell. Uh, just the idea of like how many times you have to go and run through a level or look at a specific patch of ground before you finally say like, no, I think this is okay.
It's it's a lot. It also depends on your tool set. Like, I would get the feeling with the way this game was, at least appears crafted. I have no real knowledge on how they crafted their landscapes or anything. Matt's gonna shoot a ton of bullets to kill that thing. These type of landscapes, they do appear more handcrafted than anything else. Just based on like
poke around in here.
how I interpret the structure, but a lot of games, like it is what you said, they do procedurally generate them, but it's not like they press a button and let the computer do stuff. The amount of work that goes into that generation and the amount of rules that have to be come up with for how that generation propagates like climate zones or other assets and things like that is immense. And the way that this game is built is everything's kind of segmented apart into separate little planets, and those planets have different zones that kind of load in and out. So I don't know if they necessarily would have done that here, but something like Horizon, that was all a bunch of rule sets that relied on a lot of information that would have come from the landscape, and handcrafting that landscape like I did on a couple of games that you know, kind of old at this point, just doesn't it doesn't work in a modern setting, because everything needs to be so grandiose in a sense.
Also fast, right? Speed. But also another thing to recognize in terms of thinking about like procedural generation and whatnot is that a lot, even our work, we materializer or material work, we work procedurally often, but I think a lot of people think that a lot of procedural work is just press button, make game, press button, make art. But it's like, no, you press button, make the bones of what you want, and then build further from there. Or press button, then press button again, and then press button again until you get to like the starting point. And then you world off that, and then you press another button to see what that does. I was explaining to our sales, one of our account managers actually, about procedural stuff, like procedural generation and whatnot, and basically random seed specifically, and just trying to explain to them how that works, and basically how random seed is also a great way to kind of test if anything's broken, because whenever random seed starts pulling on levers, you know, you'll find out real fast what isn't working or what breaks at what resolution and what, you know.
Along those lines too, and this kind of is a cool little just Unreal Outer Worlds tidbit, because you know Outer Worlds is built on Unreal. They just added a very awesome, I think it's still experimental, but you can play with it in 5.2, procedural generation system where you have a lot of sliders that you can push and pull to randomize and generate your content in a lot of different ways. But it's not just a press the button, the engine makes the art for you, and then it creates things for you. You have to set the rules up, you have to have the assets, which you can get through like Quicksort or whatever, but you have to have the assets to do that. So it's not just a press button making. That's
And it's kind of proven in Houdini, right?
Yeah.
Like when you look at like tools like Houdini, where basically you have to set a bunch of rules. You have to know what rules you're setting and what they do. So like it requires so much iteration and knowledge on your side to even get to the point where you can press button and make anything. That if you're a starter, if you're like starting out trying to do the push button make art, you might as well just make it yourself at that point if you don't know all the different levers you need to have knowledge of, right? Because you're just not going to know what you need to do to make anything work.
That's what I'm most interested in and exploring, you know, right now is procedural content creation, and you leveraging those tools to make more, make bigger, make faster, all in like a time frame that is would be like a time frame that I would expect for myself, like if I was hand making everything. It's just it's so cool. those type of tools are just so fun, but it's still you still get to do the art too. It's everyone who's tuning in, if you that's something you should definitely look into, these different procedural tools, and see what you can do to play with them, learn a little bit about them. It's the present. It's not even the future. It is the present.
Yeah, it is the
The
present
control
right
room
now.
should be off to the right.
A lot of times it's just like grabbing
Hope we're
levers
doing the right thing.
and just tugging on them, right? Seeing what things do. It's just like it's about tempering. What I'm mostly talking about is tempering expectations if you're diving into that sort of thing, right? Because when you first start out, you should just be focusing on having fun and kind of just seeing what happens when you do certain things, or what it feels like to just mess with the system, learn the overarching control scheme, stuff like that. But they're definitely fun to play around with.
I'm gonna turn back to Matt here. Matt, have you found any of the any GameTextures textures yet?
Nope, not yet.
GTT.
GTT.
Yeah.
I was saying in chat earlier, there is a specific texture in the game that we know is ours.
Yeah, I know there's like.
Oh,
Did she
three.
just die?
No.
Did Pavar? Oh.
We've always.
Oh, we're worried about her, not you.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Maybe I
but-
will be dead. Hold on. I think we're
Like, will
fine.
she even help?
She did kind of ragdoll though, Iman.
Yeah.
I saw what you're talking about. That's you shoot her?
She will come back. She will come back if Matt doesn't die.
Yeah, her body. Yeah, and I accidentally might have shot her a couple times.
I saw that. Well, I mean, it's her fault for crossing in front of your line of fire.
Yeah, that is her.
Rex Hardcastle just shoots.
Rex Hardcastle takes no prisoners, even among his friends.
If you get shot, it's because you were an enemy.
He's ruthless.
I love the subtle yet disturbing distinction there, Matt. It's not if I shoot you, you're an enemy. It's if you get shot, you're an enemy. It has nothing to do with what you meant to do. Combat drone was not messing around.
Yeah, that was pretty rough here. I should save.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm
Material
surprised you didn't die.
like that grating, like that
Yeah, I don't
metal,
know how I
like
survived that.
hexagonal.
It was definitely my years of experience as an elevator operator.
Yes, of course.
I can speak machine.
But only if they go up and down at regular intervals, which is why that drone was so easy for you to fight, and not the ground-based robot, because it's a whole
What
different.
is this little?
you know.
This is a real game, isn't it? Or is it not? Hold on, I'll let you guys catch up. If it's not a real game, it looks like a real game.
Oh no, that does look like a real game.
It has the aesthetics of a real game.
Yeah. It looks like some sorry pieces, but I know that star in the checkers.
Yeah, and then the star kind of reminds me of like Chinese checkers. I think it's just like a made-up game
Oh.
board. But
It looks like sorry, right? Like in Chinese. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's some sort of like extrapolation of like a real game.
let's see here.
All stuff that's just familiar enough to like tweak your brain, but you can't identify any singular game. And more specifically, what's one called? Hasbro can't identify any particular game.
Very true.
Hey, look at this floor. Look at this floor in here. This wood floor.
Okay, hold on.
We have a herringbone floor like this. I'm gonna
I'm
see if we found again.
Computering right now. No, I don't. think
God.
It's ours.
To be fair, we have a lot of base textures that have been made 1,000 times by other people, right, in their
Yeah.
own way. So
Yeah, it's true.
it's not.
Their
Similar
texture
does not.
is very good though. I really like this wood floor material and their carpet that you can see right next here. You can actually see there's a cool like Spacer's Choice logo on it, which I really like.
Yeah, I don't think that's one of ours. Well, maybe.
Oh, I do love the Spacer's Choice logo on the rug.
To the door, and we're going downstairs. And then there's like
Also
There's like
appropriately
a cool,
like
dust
stained.
and grime gathered in there. Oh, I do see I did see a air, a problem with the wood. That's funny. I'll have to dig it out, and I'll make a clip of it later. Well, I probably won't want to make a clip of it. We're not here to call out Obsidian, right? We're not making clips of like, here's where you messed up your texture.
Yeah, and if you take a magnifying glass, you're gonna find errors. But like when somebody's just going through playing a game, they're not gonna see them. And
that's an actually
stuff look good. And now an error like that would be really bad on like a hero piece. Like if there's a gun in the center of your screen for a long amount of time, you wouldn't want to have an error just staring at the player. But if it's just like a piece of floor somewhere, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, only like 0.01% of players are going to be nerdy enough to stare at floors or rock walls and question certain things. Not even in, and by question I mean just be like, how did they do that? Or, gee, I wonder if they're using this or this. Not so much the, they could have done this better, because that's not typically how any of us actually sit and play our games.
No. It's only like situationally, and sometimes if I'm curious, like I'll be digging around and looking and zooming in and whatnot. But like, that's one thing we do have to remember when we're talking about this stuff is that we're very specifically looking at stuff, whereas if we're playing through the game, it's becomes part of the backdrop, right? Everything blurs together by design. You know what I mean? Because your brain sort of just lets everything. Your brain accepts the shorthand that's being given to it. You know what I mean?
Unless you're doing a playthrough of Final Fantasy VII Remake and it's on PlayStation 4, and you see that one infamous door that looked like mud.
Oh no! Or the junk pile after the church, after you fall.
Yeah.
I do. I haven't replayed it yet, actually, but I do want to replay that for context, so everybody in chat or in the future chat knows. Final Fantasy VII, when it released, beautiful game. I have no problems with Final Fantasy VII. But the biggest problem that me and Dan talked about, because we both geeked out about it, and we're like talking about it in our Slack chat, was there's this infamous door in the Sector 7 slums, Dan?
Yep.
That it's just bad. It
was broken. It was a texture streaming issue, 100%, and it's most likely due to them needing to fit the game into PS4 memory. Because that game, if anyone here who ends up, watching this later or whatever, or is hanging out now, if you play it like on PS4, it's gorgeous, and they put so much love and care into that game. But it's also very clear that they had cuts they needed to make so that it hit frame rate and probably would also fit into memory. And so I think there were a handful of assets, and I think that door and some of the ground textures and the garbage pile outside outside of Aerith's church, like all that stuff, you got to make cuts somewhere, and I think those are probably last minute. We gotta ship the game, just cut it, we'll fix it when we put this on PS5, and they did. If you play it now, definitely play it on PS5. I've only played a little bit of it. I need to do another playthrough before Rebirth comes out, but they fixed all that stuff. Everything looks, pretty much perfect now. It's a stunning game.
Absolutely. The garbage pile is what really stuck out to me, honestly, when I got there. Because, like, I don't even remember if I saw the door you were talking about until you showed me, Dan. I can't remember if I had or not, but what I do know is that whenever we started talking about textures and the limitations they ran into, the first thing I thought about is that as soon as you climb out of the roof to the Sector 5 church, Eris's church, we all know what that is.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I saw, and I was like, this looked better in the original.
Of course it is, pre-rendered background.
Yeah, which, those things are pretty near and dear to my heart, not gonna lie. The old pre-renders for 7, 8, 9, really, they don't really hold up unless you, like, that is the problem with, like, remastering games, right? Some of that stuff does not hold up just increasing resolution space. In fact, increasing resolution space might make that stuff look worse, like way worse. It was never meant to be up-res in that way. Or be viewed
That's where AI up-res tools can be helpful, because they can make educational guesses based on their training data, and which, depending on the tool you're using, like if you're using an
Something you
NVIDIA tool,
need?
they've been trained on games forever. They can make a relatively decent educational guess, and that pre-rendered background should be able to be up-res decently, in a way that will allow it to be played on a modern system and not look horrifically broken.
Yeah,
It's too
which
long.
is one of the better
What'll
uses
happen to
for
Miss McDevitt's folk if
AI.
we send power to the Veil?
Not that we're going to delve too deeply into that, but
Not today.
not today. Ultimately, there's just not a lot of great use for AI in art, really, at this point, regardless of the brouhaha and all that other stuff happening when it comes to art stuff. But again, we'll not go too deeply into that right now. It's not really relevant. Excuse me. So they've been repeating this hexagonal floor pattern a lot, but they've changed it a lot by using different grinds, different paints, different other stuff. So like, it's a pattern that I've seen everywhere, but it's not a pattern that has stood out as like being the same texture. So this is a great, like, we were talking at the very beginning of the stream about reusing assets and reusing textures and stuff like that. This is a great example of a reused texture that's just, it's punching above its weight class when it comes to being reused.
Go away, Phantom.
Well, so here's a good question for Matt, and I know that you're the one playing, so hopefully this doesn't cause you to get killed by
He's
machines
allowed
here.
to die for answer this question.
But so why don't you just briefly speak to how using something like Substance Designer allows you to take that singular hexagonal pattern that Mike was talking about, but have so many different variations of it?
Yeah, you can. Let's see.
Not real. You're not real.
You can create like a hexagonal tile pattern, and then you can make it so that whoever uses the material has access to controls that affect like the color of the tile, maybe the wear or the grunge on top of it. So like you kind of create like a texture generating program whenever you create a substance, and they're very
Mind the steam.
versatile. You could
You're
even have
liable to
it
get
where
scalded.
your hexagonal tile pattern with the grunge and the wear, and like you could adjust like the material from plastic to metal, but also you could have a little toggle on it that switches it to square tiles or triangle tiles.
Here they come!
So with this one material, you can definitely make it possible to create like several different design patterns, or sometimes we create trim kits. So it's so like you would have a trim kit where like you might have a matching triangle, hexagon, and square patterns that you could use interchangeably. Okay, we're fine. We just died. It's not a big deal.
Like I said, that's a price I'm willing to pay for you to answer the question.
Go away, Phantom. Go away, Phantom.
Yeah, the hexagonal patterns themselves just reminded me of a set of substances I made when I was at Dreamline. One of the things I did at that company was try to introduce a substance platform, or a pipeline. Substance pipeline, not platform. That doesn't make sense.
Also,
to
Adobe would like
use
to know your location.
They have it. But yeah, that's something I try to do, and as part of that, it was like I had basically like I don't remember how many substances I had, but one of them was like this tile generator thing, and you could have like 20 or 30 different tile patterns. I might be inflating how many tiles you could actually make, but there is enough that you could have quite the different tile patterns with things like different
No,
roughness
just leave me alone.
and colors and all that stuff, exactly like Matt was talking about, and it was
No, just leave me alone.
it was a good time saver for me. Good learning.
I mean, just generally having your own library of assets is always a time saver, right? And if those assets are procedural or have controls, because there's situations where like a thing doesn't need controls, right? You just need a concrete slap on a 4x4 section wall that it's going to be there, right? You don't need anything to have any crazy. But if it does have controls, then it's instantly. Also, that thing looks like a straight up Moisnagon, like a sci-fi poison
Is that a
gun.
specific gun type?
Yeah, it's like a very old Russian, like Tsarist Russia rifle, basically.
Tsarist
and-
Russia? Wow.
Like end of World War One sort of thing. It's I guess it's a gray area. I'm not an expert on these things really. I just know it. So it could be pure Soviet weaponry, but I'm pretty sure it was Tsarist Russia, end of Tsarist Russia sort of thing. That just got carried over into early Soviet Russia.
It's
But
interesting how it has the octagonal barrel like the old 1800s weapons.
yeah,
Okay, so I can choose to get a perk point and get robophobia. Let's see. I feel like I already... No, I don't want that because I'm already having a hard time killing these damn
Mine
things.
steam. Liable to get started.
I mean for a
Part
perk
of it-
point,
My weapons kind of suck, I think, is the problem. I need, like, an electricity weapon, I think.
There is a side quest you could do that does give you an electricity weapon,
Hmm.
which I actually think I might have done before I did this quest. I don't really remember. It definitely helped with the robot.
Let it go. If we send the power to Miss McDevitt, what
what were we
happens
talking
to
about? Oh,
Lynn?
libraries and stuff. Well, we do have a library as GT for sure.
You do?
A little bit more robust than a personal material library.
Significantly
asset
so.
library. But very specific. That's everything you need. But it does mean it's a lot of work you don't have to utilize in our library. Not everybody's sub-starting trade library. Not everyone is as versatile as you.
Is that how this is coming off?
You are relatively versatile. You are what I would call specifically our Unreal. That's a lot of robos. Good thing you're not particularly.
I'm not particularly afraid. Nope,
Not statistically afraid. You are particularly afraid, not statistically afraid.
Good mouse
That's
click right there.
Matt's full of skill.
It's also getting rocked from every. I'm sorry.
Every direction.
This is absolutely hysterical.
It's fine, Matt. It's
we're
fine.
fine. We're gonna survive
Making-
this. We just need to...
Make good choices, Matt.
Ugh. How many ammo? Okay, hold on. Oh, we're out of gas. We're out of laughing gas.
Start just
Oh,
beating it
no.
with your
Danger guns.
with the pistol.
A pistol whip.
It's fine. Luckily, I
Pistol
had a
weapon.
knife equipped. Knives don't run out
Not
of ammo.
real. You're not real.
They do get dull though.
Yeah.
Come on,
He,
no,
he,
because the Mon
he
stabs
killed
a
it.
lot
He
of
knifed
people.
it to death.
Okay. I need to look at... Okay, yeah, we don't have, like... We have energy. I think I have a plasma rifle. Here we go. Oh, and what's this? Plasma cutter. One-handed melee. Let's see here. So, I don't remember having ammo issues when I played this before. Okay, we've got lots of ammo in this weapon, but we don't have much health. I think we'll save anyways.
Wait, this game doesn't have weapon degradation, does it?
It does.
Is that why you picked
I-
up so many weapons of the same type?
But
Totally forgot that.
it's fine though. You go through them.
I don't know how I feel about weapon degradation in games, honestly, because sometimes it's implemented in ways that doesn't frustrate me, and other times I'm like, meh. Like, I don't know. I love Breath of the Wild, and I still am kind of on the fence regarding like how the weapons degrade and break in that. Like, I didn't find it too problematic, but like sometimes you find a weapon you just really liked, and you know it's got a shelf life. Except that
I
you can somewhat repair them.
I hate it. I just want to play the game, and weapon degradation gets in my way of playing the game.
Oh, you hate weapon degradation?
I hate it.
Well, luckily, your degraded weapons, I can just replace them. There we go. Damn it. Oh, I think I did it wrong. Oh, I'm at the modify bench, not at the equip bench. That's why I was confused. So that one's 110, yeah. But yeah, later on, like if you really like a weapon, it would suck to not be able to use it. But early on, all your stuff kind of sucks, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, there's a thing about like, so I think the way, but I like to say, for instance, not that I can speak for this game, but I think it's in the same vein though. Whenever you make the weapons more generic, like if it was Borderlands, I'd be more upset if it had weapon degradation, right? Because those weapons you get attached to like a relatively unique weapon, or you get weapons that drop unique weapons that drop so often that doesn't matter, right? But for like this game or Breath of the Wild, it feels they're very generic feeling. They're just like,
Yeah,
you know, a
luckily,
Glock 9mm is a Glock 9mm is a Glock 9mm, right?
yeah, luckily you can just repair them, and then like to get your repair stuff, you just break down the weapons. Okay, make sure I'm not doing the ones that I have equipped.
Now you look like a marauder. Now you look like you're gonna get shot on sight when you try to go back into the town. Does it cost resources to repair?
Yeah, it costs resources, and then you can break down the items to... Oh, whoops, I broke down the wrong one, but that's fine.
So we're getting close to the end here. I'm gonna wind it down. It's been fun getting to sit here and talk. Not often do we, because we work all the time, obviously, so it's not often we get to sit down and actually talk about our game ideas and thoughts. Get to take a look at a pretty game and look at some textures, talk shop a little bit. So I think we're going to do this again. Dan may not be here the next time. We'll see. That depends on Dan's schedule and well, you know, how I feel about him that day.
This is true. This is true.
All that matters.
Sometimes Mike.
So, thanks to everybody who joined us. Thanks everybody who's going to watch this later. Thanks anyone who watches this in snips and pieces, clips, or whatever in the future as we do that. We'll probably be pushing all this stuff to our TikTok, our YouTube Shorts, our Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff as we chop it up and reuse content. Because, you know, the content farm never waits, never abates, rather. But yeah, this is a lot of good times. This game looks hella fun. It has such a good, like, self-referential vibe. Like, I mean, it's just like capitalism turned to 1,000, right? And then commentary on insert politics in your game here. Hope everybody had fun. Dan, Iman, Matt, you guys enjoyed yourselves.
I
This
did.
was fun.
Yeah, it was relaxing.
Chill. We don't often get a chance to chill like this. We'll probably do this like every 2 weeks. We'll see how the schedule works out. You'll find links to everyone's information in the video and the stream information. You know, check us out. Look at our stuff. Check out our artists. Check out Iman's music. Check out Dan's Unreal Engine scenes. Check out my, you know, what feels like 30-year-old textures at this point. You know, check out all the stuff. Check out the library. We actually have a sale starting next week for those who are curious for getting a studio license, a commercial studio license. That's not something we just hand out or offer, but for 4th of July, we're running a sale. It's something like 90% off or something like that.
Once we do this,
Normally
there's
goes for
no
about
going back.
$20K to a studio, but you can get it for $2,000.
Hey, mister?
Still pretty much a
Look,
studio
I know you want your
option for
power
people, but
regulator
some
and
people
all,
have
but
money to burn.
I just gotta
And
ask you.
indie
Do you
devs,
understand
if
what
you
you're about
are
to
looking
do?
for that, this is not a bad toolkit to have in your back pocket.
I don't think you should
Dan,
cut off
anything to
Edgewater's
add?
power. I think it would be cruel.
No,
I'm
I
sorry.
have
That just
nothing to
sort
add.
of
This
came
was
out all
this
at
was a good
once.
time.
Edgewater's hurting.
Looking
We've been
forward
losing
to
workers
joining
year
on
after
the
year,
whatever the
and
next one
corporate
is
hardly
if
ever
I am
sends
able to.
replacements. There's
Awesome.
barely
Iman,
enough Saltuna to fill
any
our
last
bellies
words,
anymore.
thoughts, feelings?
But the town's got some good people.
I just really loved it.
Decent,
Honestly, it was
hardworking
nice,
folk just
even though I didn't
living
speak
their
much.
lives the only way they know
It was great hearing you guys
They don't
talk. I
deserve
learned
to
a
be
lot from
punished.
you guys. The game looks pretty cool. And yeah, I can't wait for the next one too.
Matt, got anything for us?
No, this was really fun.
Well, everybody, thanks for joining us. We're going to end the stream. Check us out on GameTextures.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn if you want to be professional. Reach out to us if you have any problems, any thoughts, questions, concerns. We will see you guys in a couple weeks.